thank you for asking me to talk about one of the most important areas of concern, as well challenge, as well as results in our state, transportation.
Well, you have quite a background in history that people might not be aware of from your life before you were mayor, being involved in transportation in the city of Charlotte, and also our Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization. Could you describe that a little bit?
Well, my very first appointment when I was elected, my first term, was to CRTPO, which is the Regional Transportation Authority. I can't get all of that correctly in the acronyms.
Acronyms are tough in this group.
Acronyms are very tough, and believe me, you'll get a document, and it'll be 4 or 5 pages of them, but you just have to dive in. My very first experience after being elected and appointed to represent Charlotte on the board was a conference on public-private partnerships. And that was tough because I was coming into something brand new. Mm-hmm. But it made a big difference by working with the staff that we have. I believe they're called Technical Advisory Committee, mm-hmm. and they do the work to help you be a better member. One of the things that I found as a really good practice is a week before the actual meeting, I would meet with the staff. Mm-hmm. And I would say, walk me through the agenda, tell me where the places are that I should be really, really concerned, as well as those things that are just regular and routine that have been underway for years before, and they're just coming to a closure. Those agendas can be very, very difficult, and you have to have some idea and knowledge about the background of each. I was also very fortunate that I would be able to call the chair. At the time, the chair of our board was from Huntersville, and I'd pick up the phone and I'd call her and say, I don't understand what's going on. Would you give me just a kind of an overview? Because while you have the technical staff, mm-hmm. you are an elected official doing this work. And there's a political side, not a capital P, but a small p with politics in it. There are interests that have to be represented across the 3 counties. And we have to figure out how to do that well. And that means communicating often with the other elected representatives to the board.
Mm-hmm. They can be a great source, if I'm not mistaken, of information and assistance, as you suggest, as well as talking with technical people. I think it's intimidating, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit. Some people feel a little bit intimidated when they first join this organization because transportation planning is a technical field, and it is a bit daunting.
It is daunting when you think about you've been appointed to this board because the federal law requires it, and they often define how we're going to do our work. But one of the things at our meetings is that you will find that the federal advisor out of Atlanta comes to those meetings. Mm-hmm. And again, another person to get to know, learn that phone number, and feel like you can pick up the phone and call them. I think the technical aspects of this are very important, but you don't have to be an expert. At some point, you'll get a level set of knowledge and information, and you'll know the connections that are necessary. Because while it's technical, what kind of road, whether it's, a bicycle lane, a bridge, or a freeway, or one of our new street plans, those things will just come into play. I think what to listen for carefully is to listen for what it does for your community, and to be able to explain why it's important to be done, or why you have some concerns and challenges with something being done. And to just get 2 or 3 points across, but working with the technical person from your community to do that is a lot easier, because they would have met beforehand. They bring the recommendations to this body, and you get a chance to actually question, did they cover everything? Did they cover your interest area? Mm-hmm. But I want to say this. In Charlotte, we have the weighted vote, and that meant that we had to actually have not just Charlotte vote for something, but 2 other communities. And you would think, well, that's really pretty tough, but it's tough only because that's not what you want to use, just 2 more people. You want to get everyone in the community to understand why regional transportation is so important. And when we talk about our region, no matter how difficult the decision is going to be, my thinking is what's best for the region. Charlotte is here in the middle, But we've got to cross a river into Gaston. We've got to go across the lake to get to Iredale. Development needs to occur consistent with transportation goals and initiatives. So your zoning, your land use, all of those things make a big difference. Roads are just a way to move people from home to work. So if you start thinking about your community and how you're going to attract economic development, that should fit the road policy that you want to have. And if you keep those two principles in mind, just very simple. Can people go from home to work within a reasonable amount of time? Can we move goods and services in a reasonable amount of time? Those plans are the most important to have and fulfill for your region.
Well, as we get ready to wrap up here, you've been so generous with your time. Do you have a couple final words of advice for our brand new members who really are considerable in this particular season of CRTPO?
I think the first thing is be a good listener, but you have to be there to listen.
Yes.
And so attend the meetings, get a sense of how the meetings flow. Ask a lot of questions. You don't have to do it during the meetings, but after the meetings, talk to people and say, how did this happen? Look at the chair and the vice chair, or allies within the group. Call other elected officials and say, I'm not quite sure if I understood, and I did that a lot at the beginning. And then you'll begin to transition to, we have a position in our community that we really need you to understand. And call in to express what's important for your community that connects to the overall plan. And then the final thing is to remember, this is one of those situations where decisions are made, and those votes are going to happen. Sometimes they'll be tough, and you may not always be on the winning side of it, but that doesn't stop you from thinking about what is the next step forward. No matter what the consequences are, always be thinking, as a result of this vote, what's next for my community? And remember the people that you serve and the people that you serve with, and that makes a great CRTPO board member.
Well, the Honorable Mayor Vi Lyles, Mayor of the City of Charlotte, thank you so much.
Thank you.